Hi there, Sagittarius, and welcome to your November reading. I hope this month is getting off to a superb start for everybody. And it's hard to believe we're nearly at the end of the year, but indeed we are. And this month is special because we have a retrograde as well. So with retrograde, I'd like to talk a little bit at the beginning, as I have been with each and every sign, about how you can really embrace it, because there are some really cool things that happen during retrograde, and then there's some not so cool things. So we're going to talk about both. First, the things to avoid. As probably you already know, communication tends to take a little bit of a hit during the retrograde period. And it makes sense because Mercury rules communication. During retrograde, it appears to be moving in the opposite direction in the sky, like it's going in reverse. That's why we say it's in retrograde. It's not really, though. It's an illusion. And because of that, what happens in everyday speech is things can be misconstrued. So if you're listening to somebody, what you can do is practice active listening and make sure that you validate something and say, I think I hear this, or did you mean this? Always kind of validate before you jump to a conclusion. That's going to save you a lot of heartache. And it's also going to help that person know if they're communicating effectively. The other thing that can happen is you want to make sure that if you're writing or speaking or delivering anything in communication, that you get a few different people to look at it and listen to it and make sure that the context is understood, that the tone is exactly as intended, and you can save yourself having any sort of potential misunderstandings by doing that. For this particular reason, we normally avoid contracts during retrograde, but if you have to do a contract, again, just get a second set of eyes on it, make sure you understand the language. Clarity is everything. Now, in addition to communication, travel tends to be a little bit more difficult. You know, there can be a delay, there can be some sort of a rescheduling of a flight. So just buffer your travel time if you can by a few hours or a few days, depending on how complex your trip is. The other thing that we want to talk about a little bit is technology. Telephones, computers, anything that really runs with a microchip and has a software program is a little bit more apt to give you some issues. So if you're launching a big project, or if you have a lot of things saved and they're important, just make sure that there's a redundancy somewhere, you have a backup, and that again, you kind of buffer things with some extra time to account for that. Basically, everything's manageable as long as you're not rushing and as long as you don't have only one way to get it done. You always want a plan B. You always want a redundancy in place. If you do this, you're going to be pretty okay when it comes to retrograde. Now, let's talk about some of the nice things that happen during this period. One thing that I've been highlighting in all of my readings this month is that your intuition is heightened during this period. That means that it's a little bit easier to access things that are just beyond the veil. So if there's something this month that you've been avoiding, the universe has a way of bringing it forward to your third eye, to your dreams, to your meditations, so that you can pay attention to it. If people are trying to hide stuff, it also comes through. If there's someone in your life that you have like unresolved conflict or karma with, and you've been just thinking, I don't want to see them ever again, don't be surprised if you run into them at the grocery store, or shopping center, or on the street, because this is another thing it's kind of a blessing in disguise, where the universe wants you to basically deal with something head on so that you can move to something better. And I think I highlighted most of the things there. The intuition is key. Like it's easier to meditate, it's easier to see things, and that if you have to deal with something, it just comes through. And final thing, which is I think the most important one, which is if there's something that you failed at in the past, this is the time to try it again. Revising, reviewing, renovating, whatever, anything that starts with RE is typically fair game. It's a good time to try things again. And a lot of times, if there was something where you had a challenge or a block before, you may have a brainstorm, you may have a moment of clarity, or you might just have better luck this time. All right, before I go any further, I'd like to pause for a moment and just give a proper introduction. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. Each and every month, this is how I organize the reading. I like to start off with some channeled information. That's when I connect directly with intuition, and I'll share with you whatever I hear, feel, and see. After that, I will take a look at the Celtic Cross using the deck that I've already selected for you. And when I look at this, it's going to show highlights, challenges, other opportunities that may be coming through for the month. So it'll give you a nice deep dive. After that, I also like to highlight areas that I know you really care about, including health, wealth, love, and destiny, and that's the expanded forecast portion. Everything that you see today can be used for your sun, your rising, or your moon if you happen to know all three. If not, you can just stick with the sign that you were born under and you'll get all the information that you need by doing that. You can also, by the way, watch on behalf of someone that you love in your life. It can be a family member, a colleague, etc. Now, if you like what you see here, I would love for you to stick around until the very end, because as a bonus, I will do a quick overview within like 5 to 7 minutes. I'll talk about everything that I covered today in a nice, concise package. And it's during this portion that I also give you some information on how you can give back if you'd like to. This includes everything from liking and subscribing to sharing some of the content that you see here on your social media platforms. You can also book an appointment if you're interested, or you can become a patron and give a one-time contribution or a continuing one if you would also like to make sure that programming like this continues to exist. So more information about all of that will be included at the end. But right here, right now, why don't we get straight into your channeled message for the month of November. This month, as I selected a deck of cards and I began to meditate on your sign, what I saw was a set of hands that were closed, and as they opened up, I saw something shining inside, like a gem or a gift or something beautiful. And the energy that I was receiving was some sort of a blessing. And I wrote down the following in automatic writing. I said, expect something beautiful. This is because part of the power of this month is that how we feel, how we think, it's projecting out there and creating reality. So when you start the day and expect the worst, then you actually block out potential opportunities that might be coming through to you. If you wake up in the morning and the first thing that you think is, today's going to be a good day, or I'm ready for something good, I'm ready for the good news. You don't know yet what the good news is, but the fact that you've opened it up means that the universe is ready to sort of give you something. Okay, this person's open to abundance in all forms. So when you open your heart up, when you open your mind up, and when you set the new dialogue and the new sort of channel on, I'm now receiving good energy, good news, I'm done with the challenges, I'm done with the lessons, then something wonderful comes through. So one other thing that I'd like to bring up, I've noticed this in a lot of other signs. We'll see if it pops up in your cards. I've seen a lot of Four of Cups and Four of Pentacles, which are limiting cards. Four of Cups literally means something's right around the horizon or in the periphery, and you may not be paying attention to it because you sort of have this very, how should I put it? It's like you have blinders on. So one thing I want you to do is be very present this month and look around, listen, see if you're not missing something. Four of Pentacles has to do with kind of closing down your heart, or sometimes worrying about having enough abundance, thinking, am I going to have enough money, enough time? Are people going to love me and appreciate what I have to offer? So this month, expect that things will be just fine. You're going to have great opportunities. People are going to value your input. And more importantly, that you're going to have more than enough of everything that you need. Expect the best. We're going to now look at the cards, and hopefully they're going to show some beautiful blessings. But even if we see challenges, I'm going to help you navigate it. So give me a moment to pull all the cards, and then I'll join you and we'll decode everything for the month of November. Let's begin with your Catalyst card. The Catalyst is a way to access the highest energy of the month, avoid any potential pitfalls. It also kind of sets the tone for everything that we're looking at. So themes of commitment are going to be central to your success this month. I mentioned that retrograde often pushes you to make decisions. There's really no bigger decision than sort of signing a contract or agreeing to something, and I feel like some of you are going to be faced with that decision, especially if in the past you found it difficult to make that commitment. So we'll take a look at everything here in a moment, and I'll help weave in where you want to maybe have some considerations of if you should commit or if you should not. But right now, I simply see that being a big decision for some of you, okay? In the center, we have the Seven of Wands, which is a great card. In fact, for those of you that are either in a position of power or management or are working hard to get something done, this is like the best multitasking cards, or one of the best multitasking cards you can have. It shows that you're a force to be reckoned with. It shows that you can handle everything. The only thing that I would warn you of with this is that sometimes you can get so busy that there's a sort of defensive stance that happens. And in a typical Rider-Waite card, you'll notice that the person is holding one wand and is trying to kind of push back some of the work. So whenever I see this, there's often an opportunity to delegate if you've got too much on your plate, to say no if you are in danger of overcommitting, and if you know that you can't do something, to just simply be honest and pick up the phone and say, you know what, I said I could make this dinner at this time, but I'm going to be swamped next week and I'd rather not. So be honest rather than overcommitting and either getting sick or not, or disappointing someone and not showing up, or simply not doing your best at everything. Right now you're able to manage it, but it could get tricky as the month goes on. So I would say don't take on any more than you already have right now, okay? On top of this, we have a card that really is all about balance here. In this deck, Strength and Justice have been switched, so this is actually equivalent to the Justice card. And you'll notice that this one has a very sort of aggressive or present stance here. And as I said before, the Seven of Wands, as traditionally illustrated, kind of is holding one of the wands up to protect or to sometimes push back. So don't be afraid to use your voice. Don't be afraid to say no, to have proper boundaries this month, especially with respect to like work and your personal life. And I would say there's also just a general note of warning there. Like if someone at work is making an advance and it doesn't feel right, push back on that, of course, as well. Limits overall are really, really important for you this month. You could also be in the midst of signing a contract, because that's what justice is. It's executing a contract, reviewing it, looking at rules, regulations, and policies. And if you are at a place where you need to fight for something, these are two really great cards for kind of entering into a legal battle. This shows a good defense or a really good case, and this shows that you can proceed with that. So I'm really not that concerned about anything at the center. And if you are going to sign a contract this month, I would say negotiate and really make it worth your while, because the Seven of Wands is saying, you know, push for all of the considerations that you need to make sure that your needs are met. Also look at the money to make sure that, you know, if you're negotiating a salary, that it's going to be worth your time and your energy here. So you're in a position of power, use that upper hand. And if you are sort of surprised by a legal matter this month, it feels like you have a fighting chance with this, okay? As we look at your deep past, we have the Ace of Swords, Ace of Arrows in this particular deck. And the main message I get here is to maintain momentum. And when you connect it to your recent past, you see here that the arrow is missing. And I would say this is kind of in sharp contrast to what we were looking at the center, which is saying that as the month starts to proceed, you do want to let go of some of those things. So rather than being the quintessential multitasker, which we saw here, it's going to become increasingly important to pick one thing to keep the momentum, keep the buzz around that, and you need to have a very hands-on approach to whatever you are doing as well. The other thing with the Five of Wands is typically you would see, you know, 5 people and each of them has a wand in a different direction and they're kind of fighting for resources. What you're going to do is stand out from the crowd and maybe even go around the usual channels of approval. And basically, I think the bolder you are and the more you sort of stand up for yourself, the better. One of the other elements that I'm looking at when I see this card is that Perspective is everything. This is something that's been carved into the hillside, and if you were right on top of that, you would miss it. You would see that there was some sort of a feature, but it wouldn't really make sense. So it's really important this month to take a step back from whatever you're working on and get differing points of view, different perspectives. And also, I want you to realize that when you take a break from it, put it aside, or even look at it in a different environment, you may have a different sort of point of view or a change of heart when you look at it later. So try not to immediately jump to a conclusion. If you are going to sign a contract, try to buy yourself some time. We have 2 5s. We have the 5 of Wands and we have the 5 of Cups in the crowning position. So if you could do 5 to 10 days, that would be perfect. This might even be enough to get you almost out of retrograde. If you could get to the 15th of the month, almost to the 20th, things are going to be much, much better. This month is really important to celebrate all the little successes that are going on. If there's anything that you're frustrated about because it's taking longer than you expect, or if you're comparing your progress to others, this card is showing you that there's so much more to be happy about than there is to be sad about. And I really like that you sort of see this dance, because that's really what life is. It's not always about having super highs or super lows. We're kind of constantly weaving in and out of this, and this is sort of the cosmic dance, ebbing and flowing between those two extremes. The other thing that my guides were telling me was not to let any naysayers in your life, fair weather friends, if you will, sort of bring you down. Either if they can't be happy for your success, or if they're somehow kind of sabotaging you and making you wonder if you're good enough or if things are okay. I want you to tune that out. Part of what I was seeing here with the Ace of Swords and the 5 of Wands is about pulling yourself or extracting yourself not only from all of those responsibilities on your plate, but maybe some of the voices in the room, some of the people, some of that kind of energy around you. Get out into nature. Allow yourself to really, truly disconnect. That's where you're going to find your strength, and you might even find a sense of renewed energy, recharging at that point as well. I'd like to pause for a second and read to you some of the captions on these cards, because as I'm doing this, I actually see an interesting thing that's going on with people in your environment, people that are close to you. And what my guides want me to say before I show you this is that it's going to be really important for you to celebrate each and every little victory, all the little successes that you've been accomplishing. Give gratitude for that, and don't allow any naysayer or any friend who can't see you succeeding to get in the way of this newfound success which is on the horizon for you. Because if we go back to the center and just look at the card as what you need to do, it says clearance. And what you're going to be doing in your life is, I mentioned 7 of Wands can also be about pushing things. You may be at a point where it's time to kind of like push away any people that are kind of filled with nonsense or are not good listeners, are not actively supporting you. This is a time for you to do some house cleaning with your friends and with the all of the things that you're putting energy into. And then looking at deep past. When you do this, you're going to actually have this brand new invigoration. It says breath of life. So we have the clearance, then we have this deep breath that happens once you've done that. And then if you look at this card, at the bottom it says empowerment. There's also a phallic symbol on here. So what happens for you, it's kind of like, we see definitely like the ace in the card, and then also in the connection to that card. So all of a sudden you get this flow of energy that comes through you. And then finally, when we're looking at your crowning card, we have this beautiful dance. It's the 5 of Cups, but this is a very celebratory 5 of Cups. And this is what your guides and my guides want me to kind of convey, is you have worked hard to get to this point. Yes, there's been some sacrifices, and of course, not everything's exactly the way you want it, but it's exactly the way you need it to be. And as you can see, she's built this sort of sacred ritual here. Everything that you've done has been a part of your soul's journey, your soul's plan. And guess what's coming around the corner? If you can stay in that positive, joyful ecstasy, which we see here, which is really celebrating everything that you're doing right, then we have this creative period that's coming through with the 3 of Pentacles. Now, this 3 of Pentacles was reversed, and it's actually about allowing things to come to you. Whenever I see a page, king, queen, knight of Pentacles in reverse, a lot of times this is about you focusing on what you need. And when it's in the near future and it's a recognition card, all of this has been leading up to this idea that you're now ready to receive well-earned recognition, and don't let anyone take that away from you. Have you ever noticed in your life sometimes when it feels like you're always there for everyone else, you're always wishing them well, you're always showing up to all of their events, etc., but now you have this moment to step in the spotlight, not everyone can be happy for you. This is actually a natural clearing that's happening for your benefit from the universe. So pay attention to who shows up, who says congrats, who's there celebrating your success. Those are your true friends, those are your true colleagues. Anyone that couldn't do that, allow them to kind of fall to the side and then focus or refocus your energy on who really matters in your life. So you're gonna have a little bit of house cleaning going on in your sort of social sphere, and it will be for the better. Now on to the fun stuff. 3 of Pentacles, by the way, can show for some of you that graduation, recognition, some sort of public appearance, or even a delivery of a contract. We talked about commitment. When I see that, it's a signing of a big contract, like a house, a marriage, or if you get some sort of agent, this could be, again, some big project that's coming to you and they're gonna broker that deal. So I'm looking at a 2 to 3 month span for that because that's in the near future. So December, January, February, you've got some great things on the horizon, okay? 2020 is looking really bright so far. Now, as we look at your ego, this is all punctuated and, interestingly enough, I think sort of grounded on a moment where you're gonna have to make a choice. We have the 3 of Arrows here, which is the 3 of Swords. Beautiful illustration for that, by the way. And on the caption here, you see jealousy. So this isn't really about you being jealous of others. I do believe that in your circle of friends or family or close colleagues, there's somebody who acts out of jealousy. They may try to mask it or project it and make it about you, but it's actually about them. Don't let that take you off path because it's in your ego and it's going to somehow get under your skin. The reason you're coming here and looking at this reading today is to be forewarned and to be ready to celebrate and to keep working on that great energy. You can't lose the momentum and the positivity that you have in the past. You have to keep the power that you've built up and just keep receiving the positive. Tune out the negative. Because when I look in your environment, we have the Knight of Swords. This is a delivery of something really important to you. Movement. And if you felt any sense of stagnation prior to now, you're not going to have that. So Knight of Swords or Knight of Arrows, something's going to happen pretty quickly now for you. So this is exciting. And when it hits really fast. So, I'm looking at, because of the 3 of Pentacles being in the near future, you might see the beginning of it this month, but rapidly things are going to start to change for you. And I just want you to be ready to go with that change. Knight of Swords, again, can be an announcement of something coming to you. It's not something you're going to have to seek out because it wasn't reversed. I do believe that this is going to come to you from someone in your in the environment. And then when we look at possibilities, we have another Swords card. We have the Page of Arrows. So someone offering you something, a contract that they're waiting for you to sign, or something that they want you to agree upon, and then the outcome is the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups is reversed, but based on this entire spread that I've seen, I think that for some of you, it's almost hard for you to give into that feeling of joy or celebration. But the crowning card is saying, celebrate, it's good, this is a good thing. So I want you to really focus on expecting good things. I don't want you to let somebody take you off that path of experiencing something joyful. And when it comes through, then just have fun with it. There's a couple of other things I'd like to talk about with this collection of cards. In addition to some sort of contract or some sort of great thing coming in that probably will help you with resources and advancement with career, I definitely see an opportunity to expand your the love in your life or the friends in your life. So we saw some people that may fall away. In fact, there may be a very distinct breakup that goes on. But in the wake of that breakup, there are at least 3 people that want to come in and support you. That Knight of Swords, the Page of Swords, and the Knight of Cups. So I think that you just have to keep in mind that you're not going to be doing this alone, and that when one door closes, you actually have 2 or 3 doors that are opening up, and that's what you want to focus on and celebrate. Let's go ahead now and take a look at your expanded forecast. We're going to begin with health, which is a mind, body, and spirit card. In health, we have leave a stressful situation behind you. I'm going to look at the bottom here. It's pretty much a prayer for assistance. It says, Dear Archangel Raphael, thank you for giving me the courage and willingness to take good care of myself, including surrounding myself with healthy relationships and positive situations. This has a lot to do with what I was picking up on, which is I feel like there'll be a natural clearing of people that you don't need. And although that could be difficult to go through, it's actually going to be beneficial. And the heartache that you're feeling from whomever kind of shows up as not being ready or willing to accept you or to celebrate you, that's going to be your litmus test. And when I'm looking at everything else here, I just feel like there's a lot of focus on, you want to kind of stay focused on yourself. So sometimes people ask me, like, when should I, when am I going to meet someone? When's Mrs. or Mr. Right coming through? I would say this month for you, the main focus is on aligning everything so that if there's a project you need to finish, that's taken care of. If there's a stressful situation at work going on, you start to push away some of that. And it's really like self-care, project care, career growth, all of that takes priority. And what we're seeing is after that period of time, 2 or 3 people step into your life. So I think you're basically setting down the foundation for that. And I know we'll be looking at relationships in a second, but we actually have that here. And in the ego, again, we have that 3 of Swords. Looking away from just like relationships, the 3 of Swords can also have to do with stress and how it's manifesting in your body. So this can be hypertension, it can be heart disease, it can be high blood pressure, cholesterol, anything that really would affect the heart or blood. So I really want you to take special care, especially if that's something that runs in your family. So talk to a doctor, and more importantly, the stress management that I was talking about all along here, I think is going to be really key. Just because you could do all of this stuff going on in your life right now doesn't mean you should. Less is more, and when you just take on 1 or 2 things, you're able to keep up the momentum, really take care of yourself, and have a little bit more fun in your life, which is important. So those are the main things that I'm seeing with that. Let me just see if there's anything else coming through. No, I actually think those are the salient points with respect to health. Stress and how you're feeling and how you're holding the stress, these are the really most important things that you have to take a look at this month. Let's move along and take a look at your wealth card. We have Healer of the Ages here, and because wealth is not just money and resources, it's also where you work and how you feel where you work, and also like self-worth. What this is saying for you is the next environment or the next thing that you're going to be doing in your life that brings joy and success, you're going to actually feel like the environment is healthier. Now, this could show that you're doing something of service or healing, like teaching, working for a hospital, maybe working for a nonprofit or an organization that has sort of like a healing, well-being, or even some sort of a sustainability end to it or stint to it. So if that's something that you are drawn to, by all means do that, because as you give, as you do something of service, you receive healing, you receive this positive energy. It's this dance that I'm looking at here, this ecstasy. So do something you love. Don't worry so much about the money, because what I'm seeing is your passion for the work that you're doing equates to recognition, opens up new channels, may even bring people into your life that recognize these unique skills and talents that you have, and it could lead to other jobs or possibilities. Don't think of the immediate jump. Think 1, 2, or 3 jumps past that. That way, when you make decisions, you realize this is aligning me to a new trajectory. I was talking to another sign this month about, thinking of turning around a really big cruise ship or something. You can't just make that happen immediately. And I think the same thing is true here for you. Some of you are now changing trajectory in career. And so you might have 1 or 2 transitional jobs that help you get to that 180 degrees turn that you're trying. Suffice to say, I feel like the next job or 2 is going to really open up some great opportunities for you. So keep up this path that you're on. It looks like you're in the right direction. Now, as we move along to love, love is not simply the romantic relationship you're in. It's the sort of currency that you're spending in all relationships. How are you relating to your friends, to family, to, of course, loved ones? And what we're seeing here is that something that in the past you decided you were going to just ignore is now coming to your main focus and your attention here. So we have refusing to see, but when it's reversed, it's actually that you can't deny it anymore. And I mentioned retrograde has a way of sort of like sometimes hitting you on the face like moonstruck. Snap out of it. That's kind of what's going on here. There's going to be a moment where the universe is saying you have to pay attention to this person, this behavior, or this situation. That doesn't make it any less trying or taxing or difficult for you to maybe process, but you can no longer close your eyes to it. This refusing to see card reversed is almost like if you take the Two of Swords and remove the blindfolds. So there's an awakening and an awareness that happens this month, and frankly, I think it's going to be for the better for you. I really like what I see here in your Destiny card. We have a reverse card, which is going beyond normal. But the message here is that you have a sort of unconventional approach to something that really is your sort of key to success. Don't deny that. Actually embrace this. And I think that this is something that's hard in society right now. There's so much of a push to kind of do what's predictable, do what's expected. But when you actually step outside of that circle a little bit and that box and create your own brand or your own sort of unique flavor, that's the key to success. I mention this a lot, but I think we should repeat it here based on what I'm looking at. If you think of successful leaders in history, whether it's someone that has led a social movement, someone that is ahead of an industry, or even sort of a philosophical leader, they typically are misunderstood in their time. Galileo is an interesting one that came to mind. Gandhi is another one that comes to mind. And these are wonderful human beings, but during their time period, they were seen as possibly being a heretic or just making things up. But I want you to find something that you believe in, something that brings you a sense of fulfillment, that heals you, and knowing that, if you're really happy on all of these levels, if some people around you can't understand what your new life path is or what this thing in your life is that brings you joy, they're naturally supposed to kind of fall away, and new people will come in that can support and champion this change and this sort of unique characteristic or this new path that you're kind of going to be embarking on. Some of you may have a career change and it just isn't going to make sense to some people. And as someone who's walked that walk, I get it. But several years later, people stopped asking me questions. It was just at the beginning. So it's always hard to take the first step. Take that first step. I feel like there's some really great stuff ahead for you, okay? Let's go ahead now and review everything that we talked about, and then I'll leave you with your closing message. This month, expect great things to happen. In fact, expect something wonderful. By changing your mental perception of what can happen, you start to have this really attractive force come through that's going to bring in the Three of Pentacles that we see here. So keep that positivity, and each morning wake up expecting positive movement in your life. Looking at the catalyst, one of those positive changes may come in the form of a contract, commitment, someone asking you to be a part of their project or asking you to date them even. So just know that as you open up to good things will come to you. The center card shows that it's okay for you to be discerning this month. There's a lot going on, and if we look at this, you can see again the bottom says clearance. So there's no need to manage all of this stuff that you've been doing. Let some of it go, push some of it back, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. We have a very, very strong justice card this month, and it's basically saying it's time to bring balance, okay? And interestingly enough, this one is kind of carrying what looks like a drum here, and I think this is about marching to the beat of your own drum, something that we saw here in the Destiny card too. It's that unique thing that you have in your thought process, your energy, or your way of working that's going to really create some change and make people be drawn to you. Momentum has been established or is ready to sort of be tapped into when we look at the deep past, because we have this wonderful Ace of Swords, and and I love that swords comes through as arrows in this particular deck, because once you let go, things are going to start to move. So just allow for that momentum to carry you to the next thing. In the recent past, we have the Five of Wands, a reminder in this particular Five of Wands to get away from the group mentality or groupthink. You're supposed to be bold, you're supposed to stand out and stand back a little bit. Also, because this person is existing outside of the group, I think a differing point of view is important, and also getting away from a project or away from what you've been working on is key. So Some of you may be overdue for a vacation. Some of you may just need to change up your working situation. Whatever it is, that's going to help you maintain the momentum that you've established and hopefully get you excited about continuing down this path. Take time to celebrate all the little victories. Don't allow other people to cheat you of that celebration. You worked hard to get where you're at. There's some really great things on the horizon, something that I was picking up here in the channeled information. We have Three of Pentacles. It's reversed. It's showing me that you're actually at a point where things can come to you, but you have to expect it. You have to welcome it in. You also have to be open enough to sort of recognize the opportunity when it does come through. But this is a card of recognition, of graduation, of achieving, and you really want to kind of allow and embody all of those things to come into your life when the time is right. Although we've seen a lot of great cards, there is one here that is coming through that's indicating that there's some sort of sacrifice, loss, or purging that's going to happen this month. It does look like it's going to be in a friendship, a relationship, or some opportunity that meant something to you. Just know that the loss of this, while nonetheless painful, it's not going to define the trajectory for the next few months. It's a necessary sort of sacrifice to make room for new people, new situations, new money, new resources coming into your life. And when we look in the environment, we have the Knight of Arrows, the Knight of Swords. So there may be someone specifically coming to you with this contract, with this opportunity. And because we have right above it the Page of Swords or Page of Arrows in reverse, they're waiting for you and waiting for your feedback. And this may be something too that you'd already sort of queried or put out into the world here, because we have the Ace of Swords in the past. So this could have been you interviewing for a job, you trying to find someone that wanted to invest in a project or a company that you had. I feel like you sent something out into the world, because we have that this Ace card and you kind of see the arrow going out. And now we have some movement on that. So patience was necessary, and now all of a sudden things start to pick up for many of you who are in business and maybe trying to make a shift in your career. We have the Knight of Cups in the reverse state in the outcome, and I think the main thing to focus on here is, again, existing in a place of joy, celebrating the success, mourning the loss of whatever you needed to let go of, but not allowing that to take you away from the joy, the progress, and all of the movement that's been happening in your life. Keep staying in that idea of more wonderful things to come. For health, that's what we were just talking about. Leave that stressful situation behind, be healthier, be happier. We talked about heart health as well, making sure that you're taking care of blood pressure, cholesterol, and any sort of cardiovascular situations that might be popping up. You just have to be diligent about that, especially if there's a history of that. Make sure that the next job is something that brings you a sense of fulfillment, possibly even has the energy of healing associated with it, because we have Healer of the Ages here in wealth. Just the sheer act of making that change or moving is going to make you feel better as well. So leaving the situation behind, receiving something new, this is it's basically a boost to your self-esteem, and it's also going to indicate a period of growth and fulfillment for you as well. As we look at your love situation, something now is impossible for you to ignore. And this is what allows for that movement to happen, even if it's not something that you wanted to have happen. Sometimes we are faced with a fact, a reality that just makes it necessary to move forward. So whether it's a person, a job, or a situation in your life, this is going to open up your heart, your energy to receive higher frequency coworkers, friends, love interests in the future. So this sacrifice, albeit difficult, is very necessary, and it's going to really help you be happier in the future. Finally, in the destiny space, we have going beyond normal. And I hope that you can sort of have fun with this card, because if you can get into the energy of this Five of Cups titled Ecstasy, just basically having fun, letting go, being free, then you can really maximize the energy that's coming through here and enjoy all of this out-of-the-box energy and thinking that wants to find its way into your life. This brings your monthly reading to a close, but I hope you got exactly what you needed to navigate all the opportunities and some of the challenges that presented themselves this month. If you ever want to talk a little bit more about something that we discussed here, or if there's something else going on in your life, I'm more than happy to meet with you. You can click on the first card in the video or the first link right below it, and that'll take you to my booking site where you can check out both rates and availability. So if everything makes sense, feel free to book an appointment. Otherwise, I mentioned earlier that everything here is fan and viewer supported. So if you would like to contribute to all the programming that you see here, I'd love for you to help out. The second card and second link will take you to a special part of my website where you can look at how you can become a patron. And this can involve anything from a one-time contribution to something that's more ongoing. No matter what you decide to do, I just want to say thank you. Everybody that's contributed in the past, what you see here today is a direct result of that support. And if you're thinking of helping in the future, I really appreciate you. The third and final way that you can make a difference is actually really easy. It just involves a few clicks. So if you like what you see here, I'd love for you to click like and subscribe and leave a comment. It lets me know that you appreciate it, lets me know what you like. And then also, please join me on social media. If you click on the third card and third link, that will take you to a page where you can basically follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and sign up for my newsletter if you're interested. If you feel so moved, also you can share this on your social media feed. This allows me to reach a larger audience. It also helps me do something that I'm really passionate about, which is to create an intelligent conversation about spirituality, give people the tools they need to help themselves, and hopefully pass on that light to others. So when you share this on your feed, that's actually what you're doing, helping me with the planetary goal and helping me assist other people. So I appreciate you. For your closing message this month, I'd like to reiterate a few things that we talked about. The first was the power of positive thought, the power of gratitude and celebration when you're in that positive thought, and then also the ability to take the leap of faith that you need to. Everything that I see here is kind of pointing you towards something that is more fulfilling, that might be a little bit unconventional, whether it's a relationship, a job opportunity, or just a way of living your life. And I want you to feel like that's okay. As long as you are invested, as long as this is healing and sort of giving you a sense of joy and fulfillment, that at the end of the day is, I would say, the most important thing. So allow yourself to be in that place of joy, allow yourself to try something new. And again, if people don't have the imagination or understanding of why you're going down this path, they're lost, not yours, okay? Good luck with everything. I'm excited to see what the Three of Pentacles ends up being for many of you. Please take care of yourself and enjoy, okay? I always like to end with a little bit of gratitude, so I would simply like to say thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your journey. You have a lot of choices online, also in life, so the fact that you spent the last 40 minutes or so with me, it means a lot. Take care of yourselves, and until we see each other again in December, have a fantastic month.